speak, and this is Michael McEwen. Michael is working on our tech for our hybrid meeting. We'll get started for our February 5th meeting. We'll start off then with the most fun part of the agenda, right? Dealing with our neighborhood minutes for the last time. So does anybody have any comments on our January neighborhood minutes? Hearing none, is there any motion to approve? Beth?
I'll make the motion to approve as they've been extended to us.
Yes, ma'am. Any seconds? Second. Thank you, Amanda. We'll just do a voice call. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. All abstaining. All right. Wonderful. So we had a request for somebody to actually introduction before we get kicked off with our reports. Josh, did you want to have somebody you still want to introduce?
Yes, Rob, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. So, thanks to Rob, last minute I kind of asked him this morning if we could have a special presentation today, something really fun and light. Y'all remember the cake guy that you've seen on Facebook? Raise your hand if you've seen him. All right, so he's here with us tonight, and we just wanted to have a little positive boost to just kind of thank him for it. So, Cliff, if you want to stand up real quick. So, Cliff, just as a brief introduction, Cliff can talk about when he moved to the neighborhood and just a little bit on his backstory, but we just wanted to thank him. He came to the neighborhood a few years ago and has a history in making cakes, and he can speak to it, but we're talking about celebrities that he did cakes for out in LA, and he's moved here to Glen Iris, and there's an article written recently about something he started doing, which is, and y'all probably seen this, which is baking cakes, putting it out on his porch, and saying first come, first serve, whoever wants to pick up can pick it up. Has anyone here actually picked up one of his cakes? One, two. So we just want to say thank you, thanks for being a good neighbor, and didn't know if you wanted to say a word or two.
Yeah, I'll say a word or two. Thank you. I started doing it because I retired last year, and I just wanted to do something that was interesting to me, that was useful, because I've always been so focused on myself, so I just wanted to do something outside of it. And with all the attention that I'm getting, I feel no, that's not what I want to. But then I was talking to a friend of mine who's a therapist, and I said, I feel like really bad when the focus goes on me in some ways, but in other ways I sort of like it. She said, well, just accept it. So this is very nice of you. It really is, and everybody has been wonderful. Like, I have a history I'm from New York, so I have a history of being cynical, just a little. And coming here and having people come to my house who I don't know, like my cousin who's from Brooklyn, she said, you mean you have your address on Facebook so anybody can come to your house? What if somebody comes to the porch and does something to the cake? You know, so I don't believe that. Like, my husband is very, very positive and always believes in the goodness of people. So over the years, we've been together for 38 years, so over the years, I've been learning little by little how good people are. But this has really set it well with me. And I just wanted to thank you. It's doing me more than it's doing you. Because I'm learning a lot about cakes. You know, there are some cakes that have not gone out because they really got trashed by what I did to them.
You can still put them out.
But anyway, I just wanted to thank you very much because it's been like a really cool experience.
Facilitating that. I'm going to pass it to Matthew real quick for an announcement.
This is just a real quick kind of point of order for Ted. Just two quick things. if you do come to the front of the room to speak, just go ahead and if you could stand kind of in the middle area here, just so that the people on camera can still see you and the rest of the room. Otherwise, they'll just see your back if you stand over here. The second thing is, if there's any kind of conversation going on between a person in the room and on remote, then what has to happen is I have to mute the room and then unmute the TV. So it kind of has to, the speaking has to pass back and forth. Otherwise, someone will get cut off, or the person on remote will get a lot of feedback. So that's all I want to say about that, is just to help facilitate the conversation better between remote people and people in the room. And it has to, the two individuals have to take turns speaking. And I'll cue you and the remote people as if that comes up at all tonight.
Thank you, Michael. All right, so we'll start off by going into government reports. So we've got Captain Roberts here with us tonight. Thank you so much for making it to tonight's meeting.
Sure, happy to be here.
So I will first just pass it to you, just to let folks know, for everybody who's new, just who you are, and if you have anything to say about what's been going on.
Okay. I guess I'll step up here in front of the technology.
Yes, sir.
This is pretty neat. That is all right. Good evening, everybody. For anybody that doesn't know who I am, I'm Joe Roberts, captain of South Precinct. Been a cop for 30 years. Been at South Precinct for about 3 years now. I came over from homicide after I worked there for 4 years. So I've met some of you, and some of you I have not met. So I'm going to leave some cards on the table if anybody has any problems. They're welcome to email me. That is definitely the fastest way to get in touch with me. You send me an email. You can send me videos if you have anything you want us to look in detail at. I'd be happy to look at it. I have a phone number on there that goes to an answering machine that actually will send an email saying whatever it is. And of course, I have a phone on me all the time. So please feel free to do that. So, just wanted to go over a couple things we've been doing around the area. So, I know the group met with the mayor's office sometime last week, I believe, I'm not sure when. But the mayor's office got on the area of George Ward Park. So, this past week, we went over to George Ward Park, and especially where the dog walk is, I guess everybody knows where that is. There was a homeless encampment over there. We went over and gave them about 48 hours worth of notice, asking them to please move their things. And after that time, we got street and sanitation to come and then move all the remaining things. They were offered services, places to go, food, and any service that we could get them, we tried to get them. So they have been moved. There's a car that someone was living in George Ward Park, I believe. We put a sticker on it. It's towed. It should be gone now. Now with the Ark and Ross Recovery, we got in touch with the owner of the Ark, and he seems much more interested in helping us at this point. We did have trouble even getting in touch with him, but he's returning calls and he's helping a lot now. So they went over there Thursday, I believe it was. He spent several $1,000s boarding it up. Before we boarded it up, of course, they had broken back in there. So we got 5 people out of the building. We trespassed all 5 of the people from the building. And they proceeded to put boards and steel on the windows. So hopefully that's going to hold them out of there at least for a while. So that is our hope. The city also did the same kind of cleanup. So we gave them 48 hours, again, to homeless people over there, asked them to leave, told them that this is private property, they cannot stay here. Street sanitation came over and cleaned the area. So again, we'll be watching that, and hopefully that's going to fix the problem. I know there's a neighborhood watch that's been going or starting. I don't know if you guys have started it yet or not. But Divorce Ragland told me this. She has 15 signs that have already been made out, so they should put those up in about 3 weeks. They said 3 to 6 weeks once they get the signs to actually put them in the ground. So that's going to happen pretty quick, I believe. On crime, so we've had one big incident recently with a gentleman named Christopher Brower. I don't know if anybody knows Christopher, but he's a constant problem. He's a drug addict. He breaks into things. He does all kinds of stuff. So we took Christopher Brower into custody, charged him with burglary, criminal mischief, UBEB, another count of criminal mischief, another count of burglary, another count of criminal mischief, and attempted auto theft. So he is down at the county. He's got $25,000 bond, I believe. So last time I looked, he's still at the county. So hopefully that will get him off the street for a while. We also arrested Kevin Cole on obstruction for justice in New Palm. He's the guy that's been setting fires down around Green Springs. So he's a 78, he's crazy, he loves to set things on fire, usually it's just grass. But we were able to put a couple charges on him, we're pulling video, so we're gonna see if we can get some arson charges put on too. So on Mr. Brower, that cleared up a TOP, which was on Joy Street, burglary of a non-residence on Green Springs, a UBEV on Green Springs, another burglary off Joy Street. He was put in for all of those. So that was a good arrest. You guys did a really good job on that. So we had a TOP off Green Springs. A man took a rifle. We have a suspect in custody on that. Had an auto theft off 10th Place South, and a Suzu box truck was stolen. We know who took that, a known suspect. And the last one was another auto theft, and that's just an unknown suspect took a silver Tacoma. So that's about what we have.
Good job.
Does anybody have any questions for me? Anything I can answer for you? Yes, ma'am.
First one, Captain. Does this resolve, there have been discussions of break-ins on Green Springs of several businesses, Red Mountain, Vet Clinic, several others right there?
That's him.
So those are all connected to this one
Yes, ma'am.
individual?
And that was part of the charges we put on him for the animal thing. Because we actually got him on videotape.
Was the second dude a pyromaniac?
Yeah, you know what? I believe he was a pyromaniac. He sure liked starting fires, I know that. Again, he has all kind of mental health issues, but we're trying to get him off the street. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Hannah Forasti. I'm the person who lives in Joyce Street.
Okay,
I'm the person who started all the mess in the street.
okay.
We have dealing this problem,
Uh-huh.
and we have called many police because now we are dealing with a property that is behind our property.
Okay.
There is, we are trying to see if the city has a permission for the homeless to stay in there.
Mhm.
Because last time when we have a problem in our house, on all the houses around my house,
Right.
all the people is living in the back of the building, taking all the things that they steal from the houses and put in the building. And that day, it was a man walking in my carport. I have security cameras now everywhere, but they didn't be aware about being recorded or something. And the other, when the police come, we show the man. I said, that's him, because we show the video to the police. And then my husband was chasing him because this one started to 4 a.m.
Okay.
in my neighbor house, because this person come and break all the windows, and they break to the
That's the
air
same guy,
conditioning.
that's
Yes,
Christopher.
So
Yes.
this one
He is-
start there,
he is
stop there,
horrible.
and then come to my house and
Yep.
do them. But they take me like about an hour to get the police there. My husband has to go around and chase these people because I have calling the police like 20 times because they were living in the back of my property. They are throwing trash. Sometimes my kids has a trampoline in the back. They can play in there because they are running naked, so they are throwing, they are saying bad words, so it's getting worse. So we have calling the police, but they just police show and say, you have to stay here, and they leave for like an hour, they back there.
Okay.
So, but I don't know if there is something we can do in the neighborhood behind like, 3 houses that we are very close to that property
Okay.
to get
Is
away.
this right
these
around
people.
where Ark and Ross are?
I'm sorry?
This is right around where Ark and Ross are on
Yes.
Joy Street?
Yes. So for my house, it's really, really on the back,
Okay.
and they have like a small house,
Uh-huh.
so that's where they are living. And that happened, the accident, because this building they blocked the doors with some kind of wood.
Uh-huh.
For this man that you take on custody, he removed everything, they break the security, everything.
Okay.
Now they are living in there, but we have seen like they steal something
Uh-huh.
and they are walking in this building and put everything in that building.
Oh,
That's what we told the police.
I believe that. Yes, absolutely. Well, then the number one thing I can tell you to do is do a report on it, okay? Please call us, please do a report. If you aren't getting satisfactory service from the officers or they're not doing what they do, please, I got cards, I'll leave you my email and we'll take care of that. If you can send me the exact address of the house, then I'll send somebody down there and we'll see if we can get in touch with the owner and have it boarded up. Is it your property or is it?
It's my property.
It
It's
is
my
your-
house.
okay, I didn't know if it was a
My
house
house is
next to you.
2115.
Uh-huh,
So yes, the other property, the problem is this property is so long.
yeah,
So my backyard is very, very close to them.
okay,
So they have like a small deck in the back
okay,
where the homeless people are sleeping at night. So I have to call the police like 3 times per week
okay,
and saying you can be here because I'm sleeping. I have little ones that go to school, and imagine like you are sleeping and someone is yelling, so someone is smashing the windows or doing a very, very crazy like 2 a.m.
okay.
And my little one is, who is there? There is a robber here, so I have to deal with all this situation and with my dogs too because they are doing a barking all the time.
Is that 2115 Joy Street?
2115 Joyce Street.
Are you gonna be by tomorrow? Are you gonna be around tomorrow?
Yes.
Can I come by and talk to you and you show me
Yeah.
exactly what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll probably be by, probably in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And just knock on your doors. We could talk
Oh
about it.
no, just you can come.
Okay,
Now my dogs are inside
okay,
because normally they were running in the backyard.
I see.
Or I have a big golden doodle that they saw people running and they want to jump to the fence.
Right.
So that's why now they are inside.
Right. What was your name, ma'am?
Anna,
Uh-huh.
A-M-A,
Uh-huh,
and my last name is Gorospe,
uh-huh,
G-O-R-O-S-P-E.
okay, I'll come by and we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Okay.
How's that?
Thank you.
We've got one more person on virtual, so we can pass it to John right now.
Okay, Rob, I'm unmuted.
Go ahead, John.
Oh, okay. Captain Roberts, I would like to thank you very much for 2 things. For picking up Mr. Brower this afternoon, because that's been the problem. But we also a couple of weeks ago, we had a neighbor drive through. I'm on Red Mountain Terrace, and he drove through and he saw a person staring in the front window of another neighbor who didn't happen to be home. He informed the police, and you couldn't much turn around before we had 3 cars on the street, and they were looking for this person. And eventually they found him and ran him off. I don't think they could arrest him for whatever reason, but they ran him off. But they were very quick, and I just want to commend you and your officers for what you're doing. Thank you.
Beth, we'll go to you next.
Hey, Captain,
Hey.
so I emailed you and I didn't get a response from you. Back
Mhm.
with many incidents that was going on in our neighborhood, we had officers' names and all. One of them was on 11th Place where 2 different apartments were broken into while one set of individuals were asleep. The other gentleman was still up, and we just wondered about that situation. Also about the gunfire coming from Mountainside Apartments. I gave the specific date multiple people called that one in. No one's heard any updates about that. And one of the more important questions, what can be done about the panhandling that is going on in Green Springs and Green Springs? There has been, by social media report, not firsthand knowledge, that someone became very aggressive, pounding on a car. We've witnessed multiple folks there with their dogs in the area. It's a very unsafe situation.
Okay. I'll start with the panhandling. Right now, through state law, we can do nothing about it. It is not illegal. It has gone to the Supreme Court of Alabama, and it is on appeal right now. So until they work that issue out, we are mandated by the Chief of Police of Birmingham to do nothing with that unless they are directly breaking the law, which means they are in the street. We catch them in the street, that's disorderly conduct. If they're standing on the corner and they're looking for a handout and someone rolls the window down and hands them $50, there's absolutely nothing we can do. And we don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to break the law, and I don't want to get sued. So that's where we're at. Once this works its way through the court system, it very well may be overturned. We'll just have to see. If it is overturned, we can go back to what we used to do, which is running them off those corners and putting them in jail. And that's what I would like to do. Gunfire, Mountainside Apartments. I'll have to look at that. I must have missed that. So I'll have to look at that email, and if you could resend it to me, I appreciate it.
I will.
And we don't have ShotSpotter in that area, unfortunately, or I could pull up the actual numbers of gunfire and all that, but I know there's not a ShotSpotter in that area. But if we have a complaint, I'll be happy to go out and talk to them. No problem at all. And we'll see if we can get some extra patrol over there. And I'm sorry, what was the thing on 11th Place?
It was a break-in of two different apartments
Two
during the
apartments?
night, Michelle. I've got the officer's name and everything in the email. Let me just resend it to you.
Okay, hold on, let me see if I got 11th Place on mine. I don't know how, I'm sorry, I'll have to look into
December
that.
the 18th, and it was an officer
It was the 18th
Sheets.
of this month?
December 18th,
December 18th.
Officer Sheets.
December 18th, Officer Sheets.
1413, 11th Place South.
Oh, I was there, I think.
About 1 a.m.
Oh, okay, no, it was a different one. Yes, ma'am, if you'll just resend the email, I'll be happy to get in touch with you, and I'll send something back. I'll do that tomorrow. Great. Anybody? Please.
One of the things that, off what you talked about the panhandlers,
Yes, sir.
there was a video that someone posted on Nextdoor. I'm gonna say this was 2 weeks ago, some of you may have seen it, where a guy pulled up and a fellow was panhandling there on Green Springs at the intersection of Green Springs Avenue and Green Springs Highway. And he asked the guy, "How did you get here?" He said he was released from prison up in Florence, and they dropped him all at the Birmingham bus station. And he said, "Well, how'd you get here?" He said, somebody drove us over here. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, sir, I am. I'm very familiar with that, and I'm sure that's absolutely a true story.
Is it?
Yes, because Birmingham is known as the, how can I say it, the handout city, peaceful city, however you want to say it. The fact is that the homeless folks and departments around here in the state of Alabama and beyond, we've had them all the way from LA, believe it or not. And they know that we'll feed them, we'll take care of them, so they take them, stick them on a bus, and away they are to Birmingham. Chief Thurman does know about it, and he is, I don't know exactly what he's doing with it at this point. I know he's trying to track it. I'm not sure how he's doing it through Greyhound or whatever. Most of them come in on Greyhound. But that is true. Now, I wish I had an easy answer for it, but I do not. Yes, ma'am.
Just as a comment about the shots fired.
Yes, ma'am.
It's at the corner of where 11th Place and Green Springs Avenue join, and then the Mountainside Apartments are right above there.
Okay.
The house that is there on the corner below that has a gun shot through the window, the front window of it.
Okay.
The tenant has since moved because they did not feel safe anymore. It's rental property.
Okay.
But I talked to the owner of the rental property, and that's what they had said, that the shots were somewhat fired right there in that intersection.
Do you know if they made a report on that by any chance? Do you have any ideas?
I think
There was a report.
several neighbors posted that they had called the police about it or
Right.
reported it and said they hit the
Right,
floor.
right.
But it was like, Bev, do you remember if it was like 7 in the evening?
It was like 7 p.m.
It was 7 p.m. on a Friday night. I'm one of the houses right there. That happened right outside my house. I called it in.
And that was the night that the gunfire actually went into the house, is that
It
right?
went into the house. You can see it still on the front window where it went into the house. Luckily, no
It
one
was
was hurt.
forklift or. So
That was January the 12th.
January 12th. Do you know if any of your neighbors saw anything? Any cars, descriptions, anything? No? Again, I'll encourage y'all, please, do reports on this stuff. We don't know what's linked and what's not linked. We have a lot of investigative ability to track cars now and people. But if we don't know what we're tracking, we can't do anything. So if you see a red Mazda, that drove by shooting, please call us. Please do a report on it. Because that way, at least we can put it in our flock system and track red Mazda between such and such time period. We may actually get a name from it. So anything, you can do as far as that goes really helps us out.
Captain, for anybody that has any follow-up questions after tonight, would you mind supplying folks with your email address?
No, not at all. I'm gonna leave a bunch of cards up here. Y'all are welcome to come get a card. It's got my email address, it's got my phone number on it. I can be reached at South Precinct 254-2860. Or again, the easiest way is just to send an email. I get it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Thank you so much, Captain.
Thank you. Anything else? Good. Can I just leave these with you?
Yes, absolutely. Here, I'm going to grab it.
Thank y'all very much. Y'all have a good year.
Thank you.
So I'll leave these up here, folks, make sure that you all want after you go around. Okay, I don't see anyone from fire and rescue. Is anyone from fire and rescue here? Community resources, they seem to be here. Library's not here. Since I know Dr. Lee's online, but Abbott said that they are planning on coming, so I'm going to pass it to Mary Bowen first.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mary Bone, Birmingham City Schools. I have some great news to report for y'all, for your neighborhood. Epic School is a remarkable resource for Birmingham City and for you all. They scored #1 above any school in Birmingham City. Every third grader in Epic is leading on grade level, and they are a magnet school, and they are open and accepting applications right now. So if you all know of anyone who might be interested, please help them know that there is a great asset in this neighborhood that they would be proud to be a part of in that family. That's music for Epic. Excuse me. No. All right, so I've got a little help now, and I'm getting some newsletters, although I mean a page of information here, but I probably ought to put it in the front because I don't think I have enough for everybody. Recently, the Housing Authority and the mayor and Birmingham City Schools held an event, and it was announced that we are attempting to get families to get their kids to school because attendance is a problem in Birmingham City Schools. And so anyone in a public housing community who has a perfect attendance record, whose child has a perfect attendance record for a month, will be eligible for a drawing for some resources for their living expenses. So that's just a way that you may have heard the mayor talking about attendance and problems with attendance, and this is something that is an attempt to answer that challenge for us. That attendance issue does go into our report card, so it's important for the school, but it's most important that you can't learn if you're not in school. So that's the key to us worrying about that. And it's called Everyday Counts. That's the name of the program. So The Birmingham Board of Education has agreed to be a charter authorizer. And that means that any charter school that is interested in opening in the city of Birmingham comes to us first, and we take a look at it and make a decision about whether that would be a good choice for a Birmingham City School. And this last round, which is just completed for us, there were two schools, the Iron City Business Academy and Innova EDU, and they came before us with charter applications. We had an outside review team, we held capacity interviews, we had a public forum, and we made a decision on January 23rd to deny both applications. So they're not be welcome to be a charter school within Birmingham City Schools. Their next step is likely to appeal to the state. But interestingly, the Iron City Business Academy, which is a career tech private school, has plans to have a building in GINA, if I understand it correctly, and I don't know the exact address of that plan, but that is what we learned from this process. I've got some information about the school report cards, but I won't go into detail around that. Basically, the whole system of Birmingham City made a C this year, a 72 to be specific, which is 1 point lower than we had last year. So as a board member, I'm sad that we went down, but there are some good things happening, and of course I led with the epic piece. I've told you about intercessions, the additional days that we are offering our kids to attend school. We had 3,000 kids attend the intercession we had in January, even though 2 of the days were weather days and they couldn't go, but on the 2 that we did hold it, there were 3,000 kids there. We had a nice article in the the New York Times recently that kind of indicated that a study has shown that we have made more ground in most schools, especially schools of our type, in recovering from the challenges that COVID brought us, the COVID slide. So things like intercession is what has helped us do that. The additional programmatic things we put in place to address the slides we had during COVID. Central Park and Hemp Hill Elementary have earned recognition for making they're 2 of Alabama's 25 most improved schools list for the next school year. They will receive some resources and be acknowledged by the State of Education. Sometimes you've asked me about what's going on with the attempts to talk about what is happening in our libraries. And the state superintendent, Dr. Eric Mackey, has issued a memo recently requiring all boards to have a policy that addresses the selection, deselection, and reconsideration of library resources. So this is, a challenge for us, and we'll be working on that. It feels like we have a lot to do, and that's in my mind, not a real great use of our time and resources, but we will do as we are told to do on that front. Birmingham City Schools is drafting a new strategic plan. We had 2 community meetings recently, and we will be bringing a strategic plan, which will be our plan for the next 5 years. I will bring that to you once it is finalized. But the parents who did attend those 2 meetings really gave us some great feedback. And so we're trying to accommodate the voices of our parents and community. Another thing that I'm excited about is pre-K. We have a very strong pre-K program in Birmingham City Schools. About 50 pre-K classrooms, at least 1 in every school, every K-8 or K-5 school. However, it only is serving, because it's a maximum of 18 kids in that class, so it's not serving every child that is going to be in our kindergartens. So we are having a push to increase the number of pre-K classrooms and seats that we offer. And we have, we're investing a significant amount of money in a pre-K center at Martha Gaskins Elementary, which is on the east side of town. But we're also, and that will come online next fall, but we're also encouraging our schools to add pre-K classes to their schools. Because the more time our kids can get sort of learning, getting prepared for school, the better off we'll all be as we move forward. This month is Black History Month. That'll be not just a month for that, but I'm excited about some work that's going on during Black History Month. We have something called the Morgan Project, and Lisa McNair, whose sister died in the 16th Street bombing, and a gentleman named Chuck Morgan, whose father was kind of challenged the white community after the bombing, will be speaking to several of our students. And as I mentioned, specialty school applications are open right now for you all. The closest to you are both Epic and Ramsey, so please keep that in mind. That is about it for me. I will leave these up here. Okay, yes ma'am, question?
Yes, back to the pre-K, question increase of pre-K classrooms, and you said that they wanted to consolidate the pre-K center on the east side of Birmingham. So what I know about our school, so Glen Iris, is packed, it's got 800
Yes,
students in it.
I know, yeah.
When you said that, I was like, where are they gonna put these kids?
I know, that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. So Birmingham City Schools in general are not at capacity. Glen Iris is an
Okay.
exception to that.
Right.
So we will have space in many of our schools. We won't have any at Glen Iris, you're right about that.
Okay.
We will though have them at Epic. I mean, we do have extra space at Epic.
For pre-K as well.
Yes, if they choose to do it, it's one of those things we're pushing for.
Right, so the way it still works, right, is that you sign up for pre-K and for first class and you find out where your kid goes. Because that's what happened with us before. Because Glen Iris was full at the time and then we went to Adams, so they just kind of, they shift where the child goes.
Yes, they try to accommodate you in your neighborhood and in your zip code and where you're zoned, but if that's not possible, they do give you another option, yeah. Yeah, question here?
Oh, thank you very much for that information. I have a question on Iron City Business Academy. Ms. Moore, who was heading that up. A lot of us in the neighborhood were approved of that.
Okay.
We're very pleased to see that this was a possibility. So I'm wondering, is there a record of why they weren't approved, what needs to be done?
Yes, the external reviewers for both the applications we got, including Iron City, did not rank it as a really high application for several reasons. One is the academic, I guess some academic things. There were a number of reasons, and I'm not sure I can tell you what they are right now.
And that's okay, if maybe
I
we
can
could
bring
get a
that
copy
back.
of it,
Yeah,
or
sure, I'd be happy to.
or provide it to Rob and
I
he
can.
can get that to us.
And I will tell you that I personally thought they had a great plan. They're not offering necessarily anything different than Birmingham City School does. We also have a strong career tech program, but ours isn't as strong as it could be and should be. But it's not exactly something new. Yes. But I will give you that, and I will tell you too that I think the state is most likely, I would be very surprised if the state does not approve their application. Even though they will have the same reviews that we had, and so it depends on if those reviews are a challenge for the state as well.
On average, how many y'all approve and how many you turn down as far as applications?
We have never approved a charter school in Birmingham City Schools.
How long have y'all been in this?
I think this is 5 years now.
I'm not positive, I think it's an issue with the Magic City Academy. they were turned down here, but they got accepted statewide.
That's right. So there are 5 now in our city, and none of them have worked, they're all approved by the state. I think I saw another question over here.
Yeah, my question was along those lines, if you knew, it seems like, first, I guess, congratulations on the achievements of Epic and other schools that you shared. That's great to hear as a mom of 2 young kids. But I would also like to see the report as to why these 2 schools are not accepted.
Okay.
One, because in your report, it also sounds like that there is a need for increased capacity.
Yes.
And so therefore, we need more schools, or your infrastructure also needs to grow.
Well, no, we have capacity for enrollment. We don't have, our programming needs to be strengthened. That's my view.
Sure. Just because they don't offer something different doesn't mean that they could have clients, let's say.
That's right.
And if you do have more options, it can also increase the, the competitiveness between schools in terms of attracting students.
That's right.
So yeah, I would like to see a report as well as to why those 2 applications were denied for those 2 schools.
I can give you the whole, I think I'm allowed to give you the whole report, but I can certainly give you a summary and you can put it in the minutes. And I mean, the report is pretty long, so you might prefer the summary. Okay. And I'll be real open with you about that.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
In relation to the intercession program, I understand those were funded by pandemic recovery funding.
Yes.
Is that something the Birmingham School District is gonna be able to continue, once funding kind of winds down on that, or is that just gonna be one and done?
I am pretty sure we're going to continue to fund intercessions. We are taking a look and working with TARCA, who does research on success of various programs, to help us identify which of the ESSER funded programs are the most important and successful and have had the biggest impact, and then we will be funding those. It's our feeling that intercession will come out high on that list, but we will wait and see. At this point, Birmingham City has, because of ESSER funds, been able to, we have a reserve that's pretty significant right now. 7 months of reserve. So and the law requires us to have 1 month. So we have a very significant, we have money that we can put toward these things.
When does your budgeting season start?
October is when the budget season starts.
Is that that's when it starts, or that's when y'all work on?
Oh, the budget season to be thinking about it, you mean? Oh, it starts in the spring. So we are gathering facts now. It will be built by the summer. It will then be turned voted on and then turned into the state, and we'll start on October.
So if anybody wants to see something like, say, intercession prioritized in Birmingham City Schools budget, that's the time period to make sure you go speak to superintendent or your members of the Birmingham Board of Education.
Yes, I'd love to hear anything from y'all around any of those topics. Yes, ma'am.
One last, the external reviewers, were they a private company hired by the city?
They
or
are,
were they
it's not they are a company that we have used, a group of people that we have used. I'm not sure whether they are a private company or not. They are charter, they have had experience with charter schools, so it's not, we didn't hire a company that was necessarily going to turn down charter or be hostile to a charter application.
But I'd like to see who,
I
not their names, but the qualifications of the
I'll be
external
happy to
reviewers
provide
as
that.
well.
Yeah, I'll put that in what I said. Okay.
We'll make sure to share any information representative gives to us with the information. So.
Thank y'all so much, and I've got these, so anybody that's interested, I'll put a few at each table. I didn't bring enough for everybody, I'm sorry.
Counselor, floor is all yours. Counselor Abbott?
All mine? Wow. always wanted something to be online. It's good to see everybody here today and to see so many people here tonight. I've just been to another meeting, so I apologize for being late and coming in and making a lot of noise. But, this is a quiet week on the city council, I guess because the mayor is giving the state of the city message at Kiwanis tomorrow at 11:30 in the morning, so he had to make our agenda short. So we're, cutting noxious weeds, tearing down dilapidated houses, buying a whole bunch of equipment and stuff for the fire department. But it's all very non-controversial stuff, like we have 48 items on the agenda and 47 of them are on consent. And only one is not on consent because it's a public hearing item that has to be before the public. So tomorrow's gonna be a fairly quiet day at city council unless something really strange happens. So tonight, I know at the last meeting at the end, I kind of dropped this little, tiny bombshell about the property on the side of Red Mountain up above Green Springs Avenue, where the lawsuit caused the city to purchase the property and the city council voted to add it to the Vulcan Trail Park, but unfortunately it was never published in the newspaper, and so it's not valid. So I brought that up at the last meeting. I brought, my printer is not anything amazing at home, so, I just have an 8.5 by 11, which I'll be glad to pass around. But basically, you've got a big one?
We can put them on the screen, but I didn't expect so many people here, so I didn't print out enough for everybody, but I did print out some packs of these.
And that's not it, but.
Yes, this one's it right here.
Yeah, that one should match the one I just put on your table.
That's great.
So anyway, it's a large tract of property up above the houses that are on the high side of Green Springs Avenue, right where 11th Place turns into Green Springs. You have that curve where everybody guns it when they go down 11th Place so they can see if they can take off. So we want to, or I'm hopeful that all of you want to protect that property and ask once again that it be voted to be park property to go with the Vulcan Trail, because the reason I found out that it was not published is that I found it on the for sale list of city property. And I thought, would it not be ironic that even a few people in this room paid for that lawsuit back in the 70s, and you could have the exact same thing happen to you all over again? Deja vu, but it's not the kind of deja vu you want. So that's an important issue that I think Rob is going to lead us on to look at the neighborhood supporting the idea of having a do-over and dedicating that property once again, because once a piece of property is a dedicated city park, it takes a vote of the citizens of Birmingham, like all of them, to make it not be a park anymore. So that's an important protection that we lost because someone forgot to publish it. And, in case you think it never happened in the old days, but it happened now, well, in 1952, George Ward Park was dedicated by the city council. And someone else forgot to publish it, so we had to rededicate George Ward Park, or it would have been available for whoever. Like, can anybody say MLB? Major League Baseball, who wanted to take over all the ball fields for their use. So things can happen to you when people don't do their jobs, sadly. So I see that there was a flyer for coffee with code enforcement. There's also a coffee with a cop. Did the captain mention that?
He did not.
It was supposed to be this Wednesday.
Okay.
So I'm hoping I'm not telling you the wrong.
I can look into it.
I'm having a little, uncertainty now that you've said you don't know about it, because I bumped into him when I got out of my car. But anyway, Coffee with a Cop, any resident can come and meet with the police and talk to them about your particular situation that you're having near you, whatever it might be, whether your neighbor's 27 dogs bark all the time, or other more serious issues like, drug dealing and other things that we don't wanna admit happen in our neighborhood, so. They said it was 10 to 12 on Wednesday, and now I'm going to go and text my assistant and make sure I'm not telling them something incorrect. That's happened a couple of times in my 22 years on the city council. So, does anybody have any questions about anything? Yes, ma'am.
I do. There's been a lot of questions on social media about short-term rentals. Where do we stand with the legal department of the city of Birmingham about that?
Well, the Office of the City Attorney has been working on an ordinance, as most of you know, for about 3 years. We were supposed to receive it last October, like not of 23, but of 22, and we never received it. So what they have the ordinance 90% complete, but they've been waiting for the resolution of some lawsuits in other states, because this is a problem throughout the entire nation, and a number of cities have passed really tough ordinances that have been blown away in court. So they were kind of waiting to put our ordinance before the city council for a vote until they knew how those court cases turned out. Because, once a precedent is set, then our Office of the City Attorney would have to go back and tweak our ordinance to make sure that it didn't have the same violations in it that these other court cases have. So that is the reason I am told that we have not seen the ordinance yet. They have talked to each of the council members about what the challenges are, because I wanted them all to be discontinued in the single family R3 and above zone districts. But they told me that wasn't really reasonable, because we didn't have anything in an ordinance that said that it couldn't be done. So all these people have taken the opportunity to purchase lovely homes in our neighborhoods, and if they weren't lovely before, they fixed them all up. And I noticed that all the, Airbnbs and all the other people that do that kind of work, they all have very nice flowers in their window boxes and their hanging baskets on their porch. So you can kind of tell when you see one, because it has a new coat of paint and lots of flowers. Somebody must have told them flowers were important. So I hope that answers your question. I'm hoping that we'll have an actual ordinance fairly soon, and that, there's always a public hearing when we pass or change an ordinance. So you will get an opportunity to come and have your say. It's just unfortunately in the daytime when a lot of you are at work.
You have an idea about how many there are, like roughly?
Thousands.
Plus in the neighborhood.
Oh, and I don't know about our neighborhood. I'm sure we could get them to divide it up, and tell us. And I'm sure that Glen Iris and 5 Points South probably have as many or more than any other neighborhood because of the proximity to UAB. Lots of people come to UAB for lots of different reasons. And, those are popular places because, you're not in a hotel room. You can cook your own breakfast. There's a number of advantages. You can find a place to park for right now. So, I don't know how many, but, we'll try to see if the Office of the City Attorney has any documentation on how many are at which locations. But of course, if you go to the Airbnb and all the other apps, you can find lots of places in the house next to you. I was told today that there's a city council member who has an Airbnb. So that's a little bit of humor on that. Not much, but a little. So, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Could you repeat when and where the coffee and cops is, please?
Let me check on it before I say, and then I'll announce what I find out before the end of the meeting. Like as soon as
Well, I
I.
won't hold you to it if you tell me anyway.
Okay, well, it's from 10 to 12, and it's, okay. I've momentarily forgotten where, so I've got to.
Where is it?
That's what I just said, I've momentarily forgotten where it is. But I'm really worried about it because if the captain didn't tell y'all, then it makes me think I've got bad information. But like I said, my assistant is on Zoom, so he should be able to tell me real quick if it's this Wednesday or if I've gotten it, we've gotten it mixed up somehow. But I'll tell you fast. Anybody else with a question? Yes, ma'am.
Councilor, you've previously spoken about your opposition to the parking reform that is
Yes.
proposed. Some of us do not agree with you, and I would like to talk to you specifically. Many conversations have happened in this neighborhood and in 5 Points about the Wally's property. It's established, the mercantile off of 16th.
Yeah.
We know it's tied up, we know there's federal tax liens, that's not the conversation. But in a location like that, if we wanted to have someone come in, the conversation always happens. Someone moves to the neighborhood and says, why isn't there a cafe there? Why can't we open a laundromat or a cafe in the neighborhood? A lot of that comes back to parking minimums. So parking reform, the proposal that's on the table in Birmingham, would eliminate parking minimums and make it possible for a cafe or a laundromat to move into the neighborhood. Do you see the purpose of that in our neighborhood and how that could benefit us all?
Well, as long as the people who live in the neighborhood have a place to park, I'm fine with it. But I'm more interested in our residents' rights than some newbie coming in and wanting to open a coffee shop. You know, they can live in Mountain Brook where there's all the parking in the world. Our residents need to be able to park when they come home, and that's my issue. If we have resident-only parking and then these commercial uses come in, fine, if they can fit in there. But I do not want to hear one more person tell me that they come home at night and can't park within a block of their house. And that's my only issue, so if the mayor's group gets off their whatevers and actually formulates a resident-only parking license, then I'm cool. Have all the coffee shops you want.
All right, and are you also in favor of finding more funding for public city buses so that people have options to go to that cafe without hopping in their car?
Oh, we're always looking for funding for buses. And we found a lot. And actually, the money that we got during the pandemic was very helpful. But it's been very helpful for all kinds of issues all over town. Now that money has dried up, and I fear that we've gotten used to spending it, you know, on things that we want and love. But the bus system we've gotten, in fact, the bus rapid transit, if it wasn't for the pandemic, we wouldn't have gotten that. So the city's always putting at least $10 million a year into transit, and then we keep on, you know, searching for grants. And we have a pretty good grant writing outfit at the city of Birmingham now that goes around looking for grants that we might be able to get. And we get a good number of grants because of that. And because of the fact that we can pay the grant matches, which some of them are 50% matches and some of them are 80-20. We pay 20, they pay 80. Those are the ones we like. And of course, the ones we like the most is where there's no match required. But you know, the parking thing is strictly, I want us to take care of our own people before we take care of everybody else.
Councilor Abbott, you know, you and I were both on the Citizens Advisory Group for the parking reform, and I'm not sure if you remember, but in the last meeting they had, they said that it would not be affecting existing single-family parking requirements.
They said that, but they were not telling the truth.
Why do you think that?
Because the ordinance that they put forth before the Planning Commission showed that they were going to allow parking lots for the commercial businesses to be located in the residential neighborhoods. So that proves that they have no respect whatsoever for our citizens or their rights all they're interested in is this economic development thing where we get more and more business to move into Birmingham and displace our residential neighbors. So it's just, the fact is they didn't tell the truth.
So the new residential developments that they're talking about would be in parts of the city that have room to grow. And also for the commercial developments, they're not talking specifically in residential streets. Like it's listed out in the guidelines, in the proposals about where that would be, and it's not gonna be in like single family zoned neighborhoods.
But they want to rezone these single-family neighborhoods to residential medium, which will allow apartments and other kind of dwellings. So if you have insufficient parking and you haven't protected your residents, they still get very angry. And whatever poor person is the council member gets all of their anger directed at them because somehow they think we dreamed up this crowd. And excuse me for my language, but I do believe that just because you read a book where it worked in somebody else's city doesn't mean it's going to work in yours. We're probably the only of those cities they keep calling out, Buffalo and Baltimore and Seattle. Well, they're not surrounded by 37 other municipalities that would just love to take our people and our businesses and anything else they can take from us and, be gone.
Counselor, when does the city's budgetary season start?
Well, it's already started for the departments because I'm sure that they were probably asked back in September, October to formulate their requests for money for the things they want to do in their budgets. So usually in February, we start having budgetary hearings where the departments actually come before the mayor and the city council, but they're really coming before the administration, not the city council. We just get to listen in and ask questions. And they make their pitch for what they want in their budget. But the administration is the one who actually selects what they're going to get, and then the city council gets surprised by whatever it is. We don't have a voice in it. So then all spending stops in April, and they start trying to clean up the books and get all the money spent before the end of the year. And on July 1st, we're supposed to vote on the new budget. And the new budget is given to us, I want to say either April or May, for us to peruse and ask questions about. So the budget process, because of the changes that were made to the Mayor-Council Act back in Mayor Bell's time in office, the council cannot change anything in the budget unless the mayor agrees to it. Now, how often do you think he agrees to changes that the city council wants in the budget? Not very often. So last year, we threatened not to pass the budget at all, and we got them to suddenly find some funding for more code enforcement and enforcement, because the big complaints we get in the neighborhoods are nobody ever enforces anything. So what the are y'all doing? So the mayor agreed to hire some more people, but they had to be APOS certified, which means you have to go through the police academy. Well, how many guys that know about electrical and plumbing and construction also have been through the police academy so they can write a ticket? So it's very convoluted, but the budget process is already bubbling underneath the surface of the water.
So if people want to advocate for more public transit, what is their best route to do so?
Well, I would say probably, write letters to the mayor and maybe come before the city council and speak on their issue, because any citizen who wants to come can come at 9 o'clock in the morning and sign up to speak. And you get 3 minutes to talk about whatever topic you want to talk about. So any citizen can come and you can rail about something, or you can praise something, or you can just inform people of something, but you can come and talk. Now, it really is supposed to be germane to what's on the council's agenda, but we learned a long time ago that people don't want to talk about what's on our agenda. They have agendas of their own. So we just let them talk about a topic of their choice, and the only thing you can't do is use foul language and curse words, you know. You do need to control yourself, but that's about the only requirement. So I would say come and speak up or write a lot of letters. Emails aren't very effective because they can be captured and put in a file and nobody will ever read them. You know, like all those defund the police people. Well, you know, they thought they were so smart, but they really all just got scooped up and dumped somewhere. So I would say showing up in person is better. And letters, real paper letters, are better than emails. At least you, well, you still can't force anybody to read them, but normally they read letters.
Budget season started, the mayor has to publicize his version of his budget by May 15th, according to state law. So now is the time to email your counselors, go to council meetings, including council meeting on Tuesday. You can also go to finance and budget committee meetings, which are also public, and also speak to the mayor.
Well,
Make sure that your priorities are listed in that budget that gets publicized around May 15th.
Actually, a better thing would be to write to the mayor and copy all the counselors, since the counselors can't make the mayor do anything. So it's good if you write to the mayor and copy all 9 council members so that they know what it is that you would like to see. But we still have to have the agreement of the mayor in order to make any changes. And it's interesting that the state legislature was happy to change the Mayor-Council Act without any input from the 9 council members, but now they won't change it back unless the mayor agrees to it. So you know how far that's gotten? Nowhere.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you.
Before we go into the landslide zone, Brian, do you have any updates?
Yes, Waterworks Board has, I think, moved out of 11th Street, but they are now at 14th Street South between 10th and 11th Avenues. 3 weeks ago, they told us it would be 2 weeks. They told us last week it would be 2 weeks. We suspect it will be longer than 2 weeks. We have no idea how long. Hopefully 11th Street that UAB owns between University Boulevard and 10th Avenue will be reopened in March. Waiting for Alabama Power to finish their work and repave the street. That's all I have. I'll take questions. Yes, Beth?
Several years ago, we had many discussions about neighborhood residents using the track to walk on.
Yes.
It was locked up. What's the status of that now?
The track is supposed to be, sorry, do I need to repeat the question for online?
No, it should be audible.
Okay. The track is supposed to be open during normal business hours, and it is available for use. It is locked and closed at nighttime for security purposes.
Anybody else have any questions for Brian? Thank you so much. Oh, yes, Councilor?
I don't have a question for Brian, but I found a coffee with code enforcement at the, this says code enforcement. Maybe that's why the police didn't tell us.
Okay.
But,
Coffee with code enforcement, there's also this flyers on the table as well.
yeah, okay, but it's Thursday, February 8th, for coffee with code enforcement instead of coffee with a cop. Sorry about that. So you've got flyers.
That is on from 10 a.m. to noon at the Birmingham Botanical Gardens in the Ireland Room. Okay, so Councilor started telling us about the property and the landslide zone. I'll re-put that back up. Second. Okay. So this is the parcel that she's referring to. It's city-owned. And for those of y'all who may not be able to see it here because it's so far away, but if you have a physical copy, I put stuff in the notes, so to make it helpful. I'll post this stuff online too. This is for Birmingham's GIS. So you can actually go online to Birmingham's GIS department, and you can pull this stuff up. For those who have the paper copy here, I also have a picture of the entire landslide area for the entire city of Birmingham. Right? It goes all the way from Glen Iris all the way up to 2059. So it's basically the entirety of Red Mountain on the south side. And this particular property is city owned. The address is 1001 19th Terrace South. And it, as you can see, it borders against Vulcan Trail. And Vulcan Trail in and of itself is a dedicated park. And for those of y'all who have the physical one, I can also pull it up over here. For the second page is that south corner of the Vulcan Trail. And in the corner, it says, you know, the park name is Vulcan Trail. And then it's been dedicated, it gives the official address for the Vulcan Trail Park. And then I also put in the last page of this, I also put another map, which is here. 1 second. So the fourth page is this one right here. And this one, so this borders obviously to the south, it borders the city-owned property. And it also, again, borders Vulcan Trail. This second property is owned by the Birmingham Land Bank Authority. So it's not city-owned, but it is a city board, right? That owns it. So it's publicly owned as well. And for those who can see on the landslide zone, there's 4 different levels, right? There's the lowest level of susceptibility. And the orange is moderate susceptibility. This, like red, is high susceptibility. This is high susceptibility of landslides, right? And then this like really dark color means that there's already been disturbance. It's evidence that there's already been landslide disturbance. And so for the city-owned, for the land bank-owned property, the land bank is half underneath the evidence of disturbance. There's already been landslides to some level. And I don't know when this was last done, so it could be worse, right? This is just, whenever they last did this study, the evidence of disturbance at that time. So there could be a larger portion of this that's evidence of disturbance. The land bank one is basically half in evidence of disturbance and half high susceptibility. While the other one, the city-owned one, which I'll pull back up, but the city-owned one is mostly underneath high evidence of disturbance. Yeah. So this is the city-owned one, it's mostly in high evidence of disturbance. So this property right here, which is the land bank one, this blue line is the neighborhood boundary, right? So this is Glen Iris, and this is 5 Point South. So the city-owned property is pretty much all in Glen Iris, but then there's this portion right here that's in 5 Point South. And then this is the land bank property, and it is in 5 Point South. And so both of these, of course, completely encircle that southern tip of the dedicated park of Vulcan Trail. And as Councilor said, it has been, the city-owned property has been, the city's looked at sort of a sell list. Is that correct, Councilor?
But Andre Bittus, who was the head of PEP, took it off when I told him about the situation, because he wasn't there when it happened.
Correct.
So I think we've got a little breathing room unless this next bunch of people, since he left, put it back on.
Okay. And thank you, Councilor. And I know that I talked to, for those of y'all who know Gary Mastani, I actually talked to him today. Gary was a member of party to that lawsuit around these properties for the landslide zone back in, I think it was around the 70s, is that right, Ms. Webby?
That's right.
Yeah,
The lawsuit was in the seventies, but
Okay.
Gary got involved with it through Vulcan and Vulcan Trail, trying to get that property as part of Vulcan and Vulcan Museum, but at that time, they didn't have the funding to take care of it. The Kiwanis Club is who actually put the Vulcan Trail in. But the Public Works were to take care of it, but it's under the auspices of Vulcan and Vulcan Museum. But there again, it just didn't happen. And Joe and I were part of the original lawsuit, and it seems like we're the only ones left that were part of it. And I couldn't find any paperwork about it, but we had two lawyers at the time, Tommy Yearout and Aziz Bayhackle. Both of those have since retired. I'd kind of reached out a little bit, didn't get much from them in terms of that and what they could help. But to just give y'all an idea of what was going on and why we brought the lawsuit is you had this property that is showing, and if you look at this, it's not only the houses there on the 1000 block and the 1100 block of Green Springs. The entranceway was to be on 21st Avenue, which is coming right through the neighborhood there. That was to go in and out of the proposed building back 40 plus years ago when they were gonna build in, I think it was houses and apartments. Houses at that time. So we took it under the part of the water system, the sewer system, and the traffic issues of that part. And then they did the study, the city also, to find that it was a slide zone and would not be feasible for this. And we're on the 1000 block of Green Springs, but still there after 50 years.
And Gary, by the way,
22nd Avenue, where 21st kind of ends.
21st ends and
Yeah,
22nd comes
22nd,
down.
22nd,
And that was to go into that part. Would be the entrance. So I don't know what he developed.
when I talked to Gary, he was today, for those who don't know Gary, Bastani amongst, just being somebody who's super involved, he's the former neighborhood president for 5 Points South Neighborhood Association. And he lives in 5 Points South, and I don't know if he still owns currently property in Glen Iris, but he does, okay.
The family does.
The family definitely does, yeah. Actually read from him, the family. And when he was doing some work on the property he lives in just a few years ago, there was landslide, that was coming off of right up above his house. And when he spoke to city engineers, they explicitly told him that part of that was coming directly from that city-owned property. But they wouldn't do anything about it to help him because it wasn't just coming from the city-owned property. So this is an active and ongoing issue. It's affecting, it's both, of course, an environmental issue, it's a housing issue, it is causing a lot of stuff. And so being able to me, being able to see this adequately stewarded is important for all of us. Does anybody have any questions about this, about what's going on?
So what's being proposed? What do we need to do? I'm not clear.
You want me to answer that?
Yeah, either one.
Yeah, my thought is that simply the neighborhood association as an entity would ask the city to return this property to its park status that it lost when it wasn't published appropriately in the newspaper. I mean, just basically to put it like it should have been if everybody was doing their job. And we have a precedent because we did it with George Ward Park. I mean, that was a neighborhood initiated thing when we found out that George Ward was not dedicated because of an error, basically like a clerical error really, an administrative error And it's just that, you know, it's important for the neighborhood to say, yeah, we think this is important. And not just me go out there with my, you know, issue and bother people.
So does a motion need to be made, or?
Yes, I do wanna make another mention though to the fact of how much this is going underneath the radar. So I can send you, these are, Hunter Garrison finally uploaded the new document of the future land use plan as it relates to the North Side, South Side Community Framework Plan. And if you look at it, one of the future land use plan options is open space or parks and rec, right? So like green spaces. And neither of these two properties are listed as open space or parks and rec in the future land use plan. One of them is listed, the city-owned one's listed as light residential. The land bank one's listed as transportation and utilities. And so they are not currently, even in the city's own planning department, this is not being reviewed from a position of being able to make sure that these properties are maintained for, prevent more landslide. Yes?
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, what I hear you saying is that property that had been dedicated for the public, looks like for future land use, might not be. And so what we're looking at is a rededication of that land for public use.
Yes, that's correct, and one thing that I would personally recommend if the neighborhood's interested in it is the city can acquire the Birmingham Land Bank Authority property lot and dedicate both of them. And it costs about $5,000 for the city to get that property from the land bank. And that's assuming the land bank doesn't just a land swap or some other form of agreement, saying all of this land bank's funding comes from the city, except for money they make from some properties. But that's correct, Josh, and so if somebody does want to create a motion, they can just create a motion. Also, if anybody wants, I did write up a resolution making that request too.
I have a question. The smaller piece that's on the south side of the Vulcan Trail, would that mean 5 Point South Neighborhood Association would also have to make a recommendation or a motion to have that turned into green space?
They wouldn't need to, but I did talk to Gary about us bringing this to the 5 Point South neighborhood as well. So if
And I've talked to Will, the president, so.
Great. And I've updated Danny as well, who's the secretary there.
The more people in favor of it, the better it is.
The better it is. Yes, Beth?
So Rob, this is the first time we're seeing this resolution. We have not had it presented to us. Councilor Abbott, did you see this before tonight?
No, I haven't seen it.
And we don't have to use that specifically. I wrote it up to help with folks understanding it. But if somebody wants to use it, we can. Otherwise, if somebody has a different motion, they're welcome to. Yes,
So our final community framework plan meeting is also Thursday.
that's correct.
Is that a day by which we need to told Pep about what we think the future land use plan should include like this?
I would recommend us bringing this to the attention of PEP immediately as well, for them to make sure that they change the future land use plan for those properties. Yes. So that'll be, does anybody have any questions before we start entertaining potential motions? Yes, Scott?
I'd like to go ahead and propose to pass this.
Okay. Do we want me to, would it be helpful, I can either put it up on the screen for those virtually, if we're gonna make that motion, would it, and that'd be good for us to read it out loud, if folks are cool with that.
Some of us don't have that paper written.
I am gonna put it up here.
Yeah.
This is what I wrote up. The only reason why I didn't get sent out is because I wrote it up, honestly, I wrote it up today just to help with the conversation. But we could, would it be all right if we take the time then to just read this? Would you be willing to read it, or do you want me to?
You got the paper, so.
Okay. And if those who can't see the board, feel free to read along.
We've got a copy.
Okay. So it just says resolution pertaining to the city-owned properties in the Red Mountain landslide zones. Whereas the city of Birmingham contains a landslide zone which stretches from Glen Iris to Eastwood, and whereas the city of Birmingham owns 1001 19th Terrace South, located in the Southside community, which is listed as high susceptibility inside the landslide zone, and whereas the city of Birmingham was previously a defendant in a lawsuit related to this property, has an obligation to steward this property to prevent future further landslides. And whereas the Birmingham Land Bank Authority owns 2001 11th Place South, located in the Southside community, which is listed as high susceptibility and evidence of disturbance inside the landslide zone. And whereas the properties located at 1001 19th Terrace South and 2001 11th Place South both border each other and encircle the southern tip of the dedicated city park known as Vulcan Trail, which is 1852 Richard Arrington Jr. Boulevard South. And whereas if the city of Birmingham and Birmingham Land Bank Authority do not adequately steward the properties located at 1001 19th Terrace South and 2001 11th Place South, then the issues in the landslide zone will deteriorate, causing both environmental and real estate issues throughout the Southside community. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Glen Iris Neighborhood Association as follows. 1, the city of Birmingham acquired 2001 11th Place South from the Birmingham Land Bank Authority. 2, the city of Birmingham convert the properties listed at 1001 19th Terrace South and 2001 11th Place South into a dedicated park, such as including the parcels into the dedicated park known as Vulcan Trail.
I think you need to add in there on 1, 2, whereas the city of Birmingham was previously defended in a lawsuit, that it was decided then that it would be a park, but never acted upon due to an error of not written in the newspaper as was supposed to have been done back then.
So, if I'm understanding, you want to add a statement that says the city of Birmingham, that after the lawsuit, the city of Birmingham was going to turn these properties, or the city owned one,
It was
into
before,
a dedicated
it was before
park.
the Vulcan Trail.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to have been a dedicated park. That's what gave them the right to do the Vulcan Trail to start with.
So just adding in a statement that the city of Birmingham was going to turn 1001 19th Terrace South into a dedicated park.
That was the ruling.
That was the ruling of the lawsuit. And
So
apparently
ruling of
it
the
didn't get
lawsuit,
done because there was a clerical error, if you don't mind me
Never
saying.
designated.
So we want to call it to their attention that this was a ruling with a lawsuit, period. So they won't know because it was in the 70s. Now it was around, as a little girl, I remember.
way back then.
Yeah, but the city council did vote to do it, it just didn't get published, so.
Especially in clerical
Yeah.
It was voted on by the city to do that, and so that's what stopped the building. There was somebody, I remember the guy's name was White, they were the contractor. That was part of the lawsuit. Most of them, we were the youngest on the block at that time when we joined that lawsuit. But, all of those people are no longer with us. So we don't have anything really to fall back on other than what we found out on this. And the attorney said, well, you gotta hire an attorney to go in and dig out all the facts. So they won't, the two retired attorneys don't shed any light on this to help us in any way other than that. But since it is, and we came at it from the same way, that, you know, when it rains, that place by the apartment, all the dirt on the rock washed down right into Green Springs. And that's what I think they dug a ditch up there to catch some of that water. But that's what we told them, that, you know, how much gallons of water does a tree absorb to keep that slide from happening? Because if you cut all those trees and built things up there, the slide would be increased a lot more.
And the blasting causes all the homes to have cracks and foundation problems and fall apart.
So, what I'm hearing is adding in something that basically says, whereas, as a result of the ruling, the city of Birmingham voted to make 10001 19th Terrace South a dedicated park, but due to a clerical error, was never finalized.
It wasn't so much a vote, it was the lawsuit was ruled.
But it was a vote.
It was.
Gary Bostani and I were both there, we remember it.
So we can speak both.
Vote,
It
yeah,
was
vote,
both
okay,
required by the
A
lawsuit
ruling and a
and the
vote.
city did it, but then there was a clerical error which resulted in never finalized.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think instead of saying never finalizing, you should say it was never published.
Never published.
It was never published because that's what got us on George Ward and that's what got us on this one, is the error of forgetting to publish.
So Ms. Anna, how long did it take to fix the George Ward clerical problem?
A few months, because we had to get a survey.
So they never, what exactly should it say, they never published what?
Yeah,
Which is that exact
it was never published, you know, in a, I forget what the wording is, a newspaper of.
A newspaper of legal record.
Never given public notice.
It's a newspaper of legal record is what the law requires.
Good, thank you.
So they have legal ads, which are different than classified ads, it's a distinguishing factor. I think there's one print paper in the state in Montgomery that still does that.
So basically where the city never published the dedication in a newspaper of public record.
Sure.
Yeah. I think we should remind them that it was an error.
I wrote, but due to a clerical error, where the city never published the dedication in a newspaper of legal record. As mandated. So whereas, as mandated by the lawsuit, the city of Birmingham voted to make 10001 19th Terrace South a dedicated park, but due to a clerical error, where the city never published the dedication in a newspaper of legal record, it never became a dedication. I guess the city never published it. It never resolved.
The ruling was never enforced.
The ruling was never enforced, I like that. Scott, you good with accepting that
Yes.
amendment?
Yes, sir.
Is there any other amendments to this? Yes, Counselor?
Yeah, down at the bottom where we list our two things we want them to do, it says, now therefore be it resolved by the Glen Iris Neighborhood Association as follows. The city of Birmingham is requested to acquire 2001, or there's some.
Yeah. Should say the Glen Iris Neighborhood Association recommends as follows.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
something, just acquire. Doesn't sound right.
Recommends the following.
Yeah, acquisition of 2001 11th Place South, and then, adding 1001 19th Terrace South to the Vulcan Trail Park. You know, we just want them to add it to it.
Okay? The City of Birmingham, add. So add the properties, or just add 10-001 19th Terrace into
The dedicated part known as the Vulcan Trail as a natural space, or something that indicates you don't come cut the trees down and
Yeah.
build something, a pavilion.
and manage it as a natural space.
Yeah.
Preserve it as a natural space.
Mm-hmm. That sounds good.
Scott, do you accept those amendments?
I said next.
Are there any other amendments?
Yeah.
All right, is there a second to Scott's motion?
I'll second.
Seconds? All right, so then we're gonna do a hand raising so we can get a vote count. So if you are in favor, raise your hand. And Alice will. You want us to put our hands down yet? Yes. Okay. And then we've got so far one yes in the chat from Camilla. All right, if you are voting no, please raise your hand. All right, if you are abstaining, raise your hand. One abstention. And nobody else has, I've gotten one abstention in the chat as well. All right, would you mind reading out the total vote count?
So that's 36 yeses, 37, 0 no's, and 2 abstentions.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you, Abbott, for bringing this to our attention. Thank you, Ms. Webby, for everything you've done around this as well. Okay, so I've been on neighborhood committees. I wrote up, so for everybody to know, only one person had signed up to join a neighborhood committee previously. So we retyped up what the committees are, what their statement is, responsibilities, qualifications, etc. We will also send these out. We put them on the table. Again, I would have printed out more. Did not expect as large of a crowd. But the committees are the Glen Iris Tech and Communications Committee, which obviously currently exists, but we'd like to expand. Michael has been, at this point, has been doing the largest heavy lifting. Greatly appreciate it. Want to make sure you get some more folks and more support.
Who else is on tech?
Byron and Camilla. Those are, and then Alice and I work with tech as well. Yeah, yep. The second is beautification, which we've never had a committee for. We've had people who have led projects. but I'd like to create a formal beautification committee team that can lead up these things. And that would include things along the lines of making sure that we continue maintaining, the Gable Square Triangle, which was a project of the neighborhood association long into the future, and other types of projects as well. And then, as we had talked about, creating a community fellowship committee. And I know that there's obviously some people who have been doing that work, some right now. And so, including but not limited to folks like Josh Vasa, which I know that you're actually going to be speaking in a minute.
Question.
So, if you are interested, we actually, after the meeting, please come up and write your name down here, one of these. You can also go home, one moment. You can also go home, we will also make sure that these are available for those who didn't get a copy tonight. You can review them, think about it, and then you can let us know. But if you already know you're interested, there is a sign-up sheet here. Yes?
Are you reinstating the executive committee?
There is an executive committee. I'm not sure what you mean by reinstate.
Pardon?
I'm not sure what you mean by reinstate, but there is an executive committee.
There is?
According to the Citizen Participation Plan, the executive committee is formally called Neighborhood Advisory Group. It does exist, and I think with everything that's on this year, it has gotten a little bit, we haven't met in a while, so obviously do need to call that meeting, but it does exist, it's in effect, not really sure what you mean by reinstate. Yes, Counselor?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if it exists, if it still includes all the former officers of the neighborhood. 'Cause I haven't seen the list, but I easily could have missed it.
I don't believe it's been formally published. But no, there's not like all officers have existed on that. Even so, when the previous term, there's only like 6 people, it still is around the same. They're active in that. Yes, Beth?
Yes, Rob, for transparency, please name who is on your executive committee. You've always promoted transparency, so please let us know who's on the committee.
Sure. The folks who have been on the committee have been myself, Alice, Byron, Camilla, Jessica Vosberg, Josh Vasa, and Richard Rice. I think those are the 8. Did I miss somebody? Oh, Amanda Bates, did I name you?
What was Richard's last name?
Rice.
Rice.
And who is Richard Rice?
He lives, yes, he's a resident, everybody's a resident. He lives in Hampton Heights.
So Doug Edmondson, as the city recognized vice president, is not part of this executive committee? Yes or no?
He has not been part of the neighborhood advisory group.
Well, you're calling it a Glen Iris executive committee. Which is it?
It is the same thing. The neighborhood advisory group is what it is called according to the Citizens Participation Plan, which is our guidance documents according to the city of Birmingham. It explicitly is called the neighborhood advisory group. My understanding from y'all is there was never a vote of a creation of some committee called executive committee. The executive committee is the colloquial, it's hard to say that word, name for what is called the neighborhood advisory group. So anybody, what? So
It's a joke if it doesn't include everybody that should be on it. And the vice president should be on the committee.
okay. So that is.
I'd like to make a motion that he be added.
The neighborhood advisory group is specifically that states that it is appointed by the neighborhood president to represent different areas of the city, or including in working to try and bring in participation from different areas of the city, different racial demographics, different class demographics, and so forth. That is not something that was represented in the last neighborhood advisory group. If y'all want the exact wording of the document from the citizens participation plan on what the neighborhood advisory group is for and who is supposed to be represented, I'm more than happy to send that out. It is listed in the citizens participation plan. But in a neighborhood with 7,680 people, which is the second largest neighborhood in the city, which includes 3.8% of the city's population, that is 62% black and brown, and being 45% black and about 45% black, and I think it's about, 45% black, 38 white, and then I don't have the exact racial demographics for the rest Middle Eastern, Latino, etc. But it is a total of 62.5% black and brown. When a neighborhood advisory group is 100% white, that is not representative of what is required of us in the citizens participation plan.
You've got a motion on the floor.
You can motion to recommend if you would like, but it is at the president's behest who is appointed. So you cannot motion to require something that is in violation of the citizens participation plan.
But it's not in violation. How is it violated?
Because it's appointed by the neighborhood president.
So I have a question. So
Yes.
what is your opposition to Doug being on there?
There is also litigation going on in the city, and so
With Doug?
around this issue. And so that is not a conversation that can be discussed at this meeting. And I know Emmett knows this very well because the counselor just went into executive session about it for over an hour. So there is litigation currently going on in the city around this issue, so this is not an appropriate time to have a conversation about ongoing city litigation.
The city has decided the issue, you haven't.
There is currently ongoing city litigation around this issue.
Nothing has been ruled on now.
There is currently ongoing
Are you
litigation
talking about your
around this
lawsuit?
issue. So we are no longer in a conversation, we have around the committees that are here. So these are the committees. If you are interested in one, there is a sign-up sheet here, or message me and let me know so we can get these going. Yes?
I would like to push for a different motion. Given the representation, I like the consideration of some sort of plan or efforts to increase diversity in your advisory committee. Because you are not representative of our neighborhood as a brown individual.
Yeah,
Doesn't sound like
right.
there's anyone really that represents me on your board.
There are multiple.
Hispanic or Latino?
Oh, no, there's not currently a Hispanic or Latino person.
Okay. Well, then, I'm not specifically appointing any individual, but I would like to request a motion to increase diversity that reflects the makeup in terms of socio-demographic characteristics of our neighborhood.
Yeah, I think we absolutely need that. And so, yeah, if you want, as I said, motions to request are absolutely valid. So any seconds to that motion?
I second.
Great, so everybody in favor, raise your hand.
Wait with that now, increase diversity, or including Doug on the thing?
Would you like to restate your motion?
Yes, I'd like a plan to increase diversity in the advisory committee or executive committee, whatever you're calling it, to represent more of what the neighborhood is made of. Currently, it seems like the way you described it and the people you named, it doesn't really reflect who the neighborhood is made out of, as it is predominantly white.
It's predominantly
Still have room to work on that, absolutely.
And so I'd like to see more diversity, not just only in race and ethnicity, but, you know, just diversity in general that reflect the socioeconomic characteristics and age and gender and of this neighborhood. Because one of the reasons I live here is because it's one of the most diverse. And so I'd like to be represented by someone who is also represents me. So I second the motion to have a plan to increase diversity on your advisory committee that reflects what the neighborhood is made out of.
Great. So we had a second on the table, so all in favor, please raise your hand. Double check the chat. There's one yes in the chat. All opposed, please raise your hand. All abstained, please raise your hand. Okay, I have not gotten any other votes in the chat. Oh, John? I don't know what John is raising his hand about. Yeah, you mind putting him on speaker? Oh, he put his hand down, so.
I just sent him to ask him.
Right, so these are up here for if you want to join one of those three committees.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay.
Is John coming up?
Yeah, John, can you hear us? If you are ready, you can speak now.
I wasn't speaking, I was voting. I wasn't speaking, I was voting.
What's your vote?
Abstain, you lost me in the middle of the whole thing. Or everybody lost me.
All right.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
So I'm kind of new at this, so I'm trying to figure something out. So you're gonna control who's appointed to all these committees? So if I put my name on any of these committees, and for whatever reason, you don't like the way I part my hair, you can keep me from off these committees? Just a yes or a no?
Technically, yes, but yeah, it obviously is recommended, getting input from others.
And you also can control the size of the committees as well, so you can have 2 or 6, or is there a minimum or maximum, or?
So preferably, the way that I would love to do this is to create a set of bylaws. But, I was working with 5 Point South Neighborhood Association about creating some bylaws because according to the Citizens Participation Plan, it mentions that neighborhoods can create bylaws. So this was a bid back in around March of 2023-ish. And the former VP of 5 Point South, who's now on the planning commission, so he stepped down a couple months ago, he created a draft, he sent it to legal to work to get legal input about passing them. And the city attorney said that neighborhoods, despite the fact that it's listed in the Citizens Participation Plan, neighborhoods are not allowed to create bylaws. And so they were stopped from doing so, because even in the Citizens Participation Plan, it says to create bylaws, those have to be approved by the city's legal department. So, yeah, we've been told that it's not allowed, and no other neighborhoods in the city have that. And we've been told it's not allowed because we're not an autonomous body, we're a part of the city. It doesn't fully make sense to me, but that's the legal answer we've gotten so far. And they said that they will review this again, in the future. Cause the city's been working to, well, the Citizens Advisory Board, this was when Scott was community president, had voted to recommend new, changes to the citizen participation plan. The Citizens Advisory Board is the 23 community presidents. And so that's gone to the city, would have to be approved by the council, but it's then illegal. And so, the law department said after whatever changes are made, they'll consider looking into it again, which.
Well, I have a follow-up question then. So if you're going with legal, why don't you just ask them if Doug could be on it? Is he breaking any rules? Is he breaking any?
Yeah, I agree. I don't understand why it can't be voted on as a motion.
Yeah, I mean, if you're saying it's a legal thing, something legal going on that nobody can talk about, then ask them, is there any reason why he is vice president, correct?
No, that's what a law.
Oh, that's what's in legal.
There's no reason that Doug can't be on a committee. Yeah, that's not what I was saying. I was saying the question on if he's vice president is in litigation. Sorry for any lack of clarity.
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay.
So I'd like to make a motion that Doug be at the executive committee.
I'm more than welcome to make a motion to recommend.
I'd like to make a motion.
I second that.
Hold on, we still have a vote for the other motion, just wanted to announce.
Is that not?
The totals.
Oh,
I didn't actually say the totals.
Go ahead.
Sorry, just get it. That was 38 yes, 0 no's, and 2 abstentions. So that motion for increasing diversity.
Okay, so motion to start. Thank you for making sure that was stated out loud, that motion for increased diversity passed. So we have another motion for recommendation. So you want to hear a motion?
Yeah, motion for recommendation that Doug is added to the executive committee.
Okay, any seconds?
Second.
Cool. Anybody in favor, raise your hand. Yeah, so, no, this is too far in the process now. Any votes no? Raise your hand. Any abstentions? I'm seeing if somebody wants to comment. Are you trying to comment?
Just a comment.
Okay.
So with Doug being added, this will also take care of your diversity problem as it relates to age. So this is perfect. You've got a very young executive committee in age, and now this will take care of diversity to cover any other age issue within the
well, I am already planning on, Alice and I were actually talking about it earlier today, we're looking at who's on the neighborhood advisory group, so while we work through committees, we will also work through neighborhood advisory group.
Perfect. Now that this is your 1-year anniversary of being president, so that's perfect.
Yep, as it states on there, the committees are for 1-year time appointments, and I view the neighborhood advisory group as the same. So, there'll obviously be reevaluation on who's on it, and we move forward. So, alright. Okay, so, do you have any updates around ongoing neighborhood projects?
Just the speed cushions, they got back with me January 31st, so they had not obviously installed any speed cushions yet, but they said they were projecting that to be in spring. So they got behind on some things. Spring is now the new date, so.
And then, of course, Captain told us that they gave us the update already as it relates to the signs for Neighborhood Watch, and that moves forward. Yes, Teresa?
Just real quick, so, I have one more that's going to be put on, there's going to be one more put on the, what is the name of the street here by the building? Cedars Club, thank you, is that Cedars Club Road? So we're adding, there's gonna be one there, that will take all 15. And, I'll be submitting that to Ms. Ragland tomorrow, if I get it tonight, or I'll get it tomorrow and I'll submit it. And like you said, then they'll be installed in 3 to 4 weeks.
Great.
And for Doug, for y'all's area, just you need to work with Ms. Ragland to get yours. David's doing it, okay, good.
Great, thank you, Teresa, for that update. All neighborhood projects have been submitted. I have been told by Melanie Martin, our CRR, that they have processed all of them. So I think the only like neighborhood project that we've dedicated money to that we don't have an update for at this time is our neighborhood meeting signs. So, yes, Beth?
Part of my email to y'all to ask for several things for the agenda tonight was where do things stand with the 2 motions that were made back in November that Doug made?
They have been submitted to Birmingham Department of Transit, and so hopefully they will be reviewing those. I'll obviously follow up, but we don't have any information about, where they are in the process of reviewing those as we requested.
Have you queried them about them, or they've been submitted and we're just in a holding pattern?
Am I following up with them?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
So as soon as I get an update,
perfect.
I will pass that on.
You said Department of Transit, did you mean transportation?
Yes.
Okay.
And then there's also a request to do a call for new neighborhood projects. I know I'll start off if you want to make your announcement as it relates to this. Yeah.
Okay, so he wasn't available for this meeting, but next meeting, we're expecting our new elementary school band teacher to present to the neighborhood, looking for assistance in supporting their new band, so assistance in things like helping maybe purchase new equipment or instruments for the school. There are free instruments for some of the children, but not enough to go around, and of course that equipment needs its own equipment, replacement parts, like that. And so there's definitely some funding shortage there. And that is one of the eligible items, I believe, for neighborhood funds to be able to assist schools in that type of equipment. So they will be hopefully here at our next meeting. They just weren't able to make it.
And we have, we're gonna send this out as well. We do have a guide of what can be spent. And we had previously posted this. It's on the website. We had previously posted it on Facebook, but we can do so again as well. Yes, Beth?
I would like to propose a potential project, whatever, it's appropriate.
Yes, that's, just wanted to make sure that folks knew about that, and then yes, Beth, go ahead.
So, today, Tony, Josh, and I went down to Bessie Estelle Park. This has been where all the meet and greets have been, and as we have looked through that area, we realized how much could be done. And I know that there's been dedicated money to bring the assisted area for the children. But we just kind of brainstormed about that, and what I'd like to do, Tony really had some good ideas. I'd like for him to kind of take this and give us some updates. What we're kind of looking at.
All right, stand up. Hey, I'm Tony Diliberto. So we went down today and we just looked at the park. And with the funds that are left,
or the Taj Mahal could be built. However, we were looking at an area that is, you've got the small circular area that has the vines above it, which is kind of like a faux roof. The slightest sprinkle and you gotta run. So we looked at the area just past, going towards Club South, where a cool pavilion could be built. That way, when people gathered at the park, there was a place to actually get out of the weather. We also looked at, just like where the water comes in and washes away, there is no grass. There's sprinkler heads, but there's no grass. So where some rock could be added there to stop the erosion of the mud, and as kids or people or dogs or whatever could walk through there. So just some really low-level landscaping to really like increase the beautification of that park, and make usage of it to where you wouldn't get, if you bring your kids there and it starts raining, you're not gonna have them full of mud getting back into your car. Any other projects within there, we talked about a track and things like that, just really kind of got a little too budget heavy. But those type of items would really make the entrance into our neighborhood coming from under the interstate kind of be like an off factor, and for people that end up at the Gable Square area that walked over, it would just make it more inviting. So that's just some of the ideas.
So process for making this happen is we essentially need to come up with a proposal. We would have to then communicate with the city to get this priced out with city vendors. And then once, assuming we're trying to pay for it with the city, with neighborhood funds, right? Because there's other routes technically that we could also go. And so we create a proposal, we can get it priced out, and then we can bring it back for neighborhood funds.
So how much, what are the funds? How many funds are we talking about? How much money is there?
There's around 90,000 in our account. And I can send you I can email you a copy of it was a couple months ago, I think, that I had gotten from Thomas Stone, the financial report, brought it here, so I can send you a copy of it. Yeah, and depending on what it is, I mean, theoretically, there could be other avenues for us to work on getting funds, like finding businesses to help donate materials, et cetera, to help support projects, so
So just one more question, what happens to those funds if we don't use them?
they roll into the next year.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Yes, Captain.
This is not exactly on the same topic, but sort of. The neighborhood has allocated money for the accessible children's playground, and the city has a plan. And they have shown it to, like, me and Daryl. I think that we ought to ask at our next neighborhood meeting for them to present that plan so that all of us could see what it's gonna look like and make suggestions, and then questions could be asked of the park people at the same time about doing other improvements, because, the mud is a problem. And sprinkle heads where you don't need any more mud, but you'll get some if you turn them on, that's a real problem. So, the park has grown up a lot since it was installed, and originally they cut down all the trees they were supposed to save and left all the trees that were supposed to be cut down. So the park didn't really end up being the design it was supposed to be. And so we want that accessible park. And, Daryl has been out beating the bushes trying to get money to pay for it because it's expensive. But at least we deserve, as a neighborhood who has voted money to the project, we deserve to see the plans and ask questions. And I just thought it would be nice, since we're back to talking about Bessie Estelle, if we did that, maybe at our next meeting.
Absolutely.
Spring is coming.
So do you have the contact information for who we need to get to come do that presentation?
I'll get Daryl to find out who they've got.
Thank you. And to the three folks who just presented about this project, just little hint, I recommend if you can, just come put your name on the beautification committee at the end of the meeting, because this is exactly the type of project, and I'd love to see the beautification committee working on, to move that stuff forward. I'm telling you, you want to. Is there any other projects that folks wanted to bring up today?
Real quick, I was gonna mention neighborhood meetups, which I think is on the next.
Go ahead.
That's okay, Rob. First of all, I just wanted to say Alice brought up the PTA thing. I think that's a great idea. Kudos to Alice and all she's doing with PTA and the band director coming to speak next time. I think it's awesome. So I'm excited about that. Thank you for doing that, Alice. So neighborhood meetups. I think y'all remember last year we tried 3 of them. A few of us got together. Matt, Mateus, Sousa, Layla, Sousa, and Carrie over here, and basically came up with this idea of like, y'all, let's just get together, find a space, and we can all kind of hang out, just get to know each other some more. So we did 3 of those programs. It went well. One time it rained, but it was overall sort of a nice way for neighbors just to meet each other. I met a lot of folks that I think a lot of y'all did too. And so we reconvened in January to kind of talk through what this year looks like. It's a good committee, it's good folks, and mostly good folks. And so we went ahead and planned out dates for this year, right? So the idea is to do 3 in spring, 3 in the fall. They're on Sundays in March, April, May, and then Sundays in September, October, November. Carrie is gonna be heading up the March event, and so I thought maybe she could kind of talk about what's coming up for that event.
Okay. Hi, I'm Carrie Sweet. We, like Josh said, yeah, we started this last year and it's going really well. We just want to add a little extra something to it, because I mean, we can all sit around and talk all day, I'm sure, but we just thought maybe let's add a little something. So, the one that I'm leading, we're gonna do a little plant seedling swap just for the start of spring, and then we're gonna have lots of outdoor activities, kids and everyone. And the next, yeah, I know, I have to look at my notes. Here, let's see. And we're trying to do these on the second Sunday, so it'll be even. The only second Sunday we're not doing is the May one, because of Mother's Day. So that's gonna be the third Sunday. But we're gonna try to do like a tie-dye, like a music, something kind of mixture for one of them. We've got Glen Iris history, this most wonderful neighborhood for history. So we thought about having like a picnic and everybody bring their stories, especially other people that have been in this neighborhood for so long. And then for Halloween, we're thinking of doing something with pumpkins and carving. And then in November, we're thinking of like a cook-off or a bake-off or something like that. Bring your favorite dish and teach others how to do it. Anyway, there's lots of details still to be worked out, but we'd love to have you. It's a lot of fun. It's only 2 hours Sunday afternoon. Times 4 to 6 p.m. With the first one beginning the 10th of March.
Daylight savings in the end.
I know, exactly. That was another thing that we were talking about. So, and we're doing the very pleasant months. We're gonna take the summer off, so we're not all dying. So, but yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to, I would say, Josh, or we're gonna also put this on Facebook as well.
Yeah. Carrie, I hope you come sign up for the fellowship committee too.
You got it.
All right, anybody have any other follow-up questions for Carrie?
Would y'all want anything on the website updated about it specifically?
Sure. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
The website's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
We can give you a breakdown of, the details.
We have to have like a graphic in 2 weeks, so
We'll do a PowerPoint presentation next time.
Awesome.
We'll have a graphic the day before the event.
I'll try my best to get it.
Last agenda item, Teresa, the floor is yours.
I've already spoken.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for the updates. All right, announcements, obviously, we already did call to the code enforcement, February 8th, 10 to 12 p.m. at Ireland Room in Botanical Gardens. Northside, Southside Community Framework Plan meeting is February 8th at 6 p.m. at the exact room, recruiting room at Protective Stadium. Glen Iris PTA is doing a percentage night at Rojo on February 13th, 5:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. Recycling is this week, February 7th, and then the 21st. Trash and brush for this week is, or for this month, is February 29th. Anybody else have any other announcements? Yes, Counselor.
Well, I was so excited about it, I forgot to tell y'all, and I'm sure everybody who drives by George Ward Park has noticed that we got the mayor's attention finally. And they came and cleaned up all of the garbage and the mess and the people who've taken over the pavilions and everything. And the next phase is the lot on Green Springs Highway, the one that has all the stolen grocery carts and garbage and trash and mess. And the little set of steps that someone built very nicely up the hill in the mud. As soon as they get in touch with the owner of that property, who reportedly wants to sell it, you know, it's the guy who was gonna put the Asian shopping center in but never did. As soon as they finish getting hold of him, they're going to clean up all that garbage that's in there that makes their neighborhood look so awful when you drive down the road. And I guess they'll, you know, find the owners of all the stolen grocery carts. So that's coming. And I know for all the people who've been worried about that for so long and no action was ever taken by the city, well, the city finally woke up and smelled the coffee when they rented out the pavilions to people who came and found that they were occupied. So that's good news for our neighborhood. You know, it just looked so bad, and it was, well, people wouldn't go to the park anymore. So, but the mayor came and personally wandered around our neighborhood looking at the things that were going on. So I thought that was good that he would pay attention. He has a lot of people who want his attention besides us over here, so I thought that was good. So if anybody wants to, you know, send him a text or write him a note or whatever means of communication you do, it's I've driven around and looked, and it's amazing. You know, not that we won't get litter back, but just the fact that that was done by the city, and it's a good thing for us. So I just wanted to, in case you hadn't noticed, go by and see.
Just a reminder, Captain Joe Roberts left his card up here, sign-in sheets are up here. We have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nobody's second. You have to sleep on the